This is your life, rotten and stinking.
What do you mean it's not treatable? Dean's voice cracked as he gripped the lab results, his knuckles white against the sterile paper. The medical assistant shifted uncomfortably. Sir, I need you to remain calm. We'll need to contact your recent partners immediately. 3 men sat in the Stark Hospital waiting room, each clutching identical manila envelopes. Dean, the gym trainer with his perfectly sculpted arms now trembling. Malik, the flashy real estate broker whose designer watch seemed to mock him now, and Tyler, the crypto trader whose confident smirk had vanished completely. Down the hallway, Michael Harlan stood motionless in his janitor's uniform, a ghost of a smile playing at his lips. His mop bucket sat forgotten beside him as he watched the 3 men who had destroyed his marriage panic like cornered animals. But this story doesn't begin with revenge. It begins with trust. 6 months earlier, Michael wiped the sweat from his forehead as he finished loading the garbage truck. At 35, he'd been working sanitation for the city for 8 years, and despite what people thought, he didn't mind it. The work was honest, the pay was steady, and it gave him time to think. What he minded was coming home to silence. Celeste was on the couch when he walked through the door, her phone glowing against her face. She didn't look up as he kicked off his work boots. "How was your day?" he asked, settling beside her. "Fine." Her fingers never stopped scrolling. Ashley got another brand deal, some skincare thing. Ashley North was Celeste's biggest rival in the influencer space. Everything was a competition with her. "That's nice, honey." "No, it's not nice, Michael. It should have been me." She finally looked at him, her green eyes cold. "But I guess my husband emptying trash cans doesn't exactly scream luxury lifestyle brand." Michael felt the familiar sting, but kept his voice level. "I thought you liked authenticity. Isn't that what you always tell your followers?" She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Authenticity doesn't pay for this condo, Michael, or my car, or anything else we have." What she didn't know was that Michael had been mining cryptocurrency since 2016, back when Bitcoin was under $1,000. What started as a hobby had grown into something much bigger. His various digital wallets now held over $4 million. He'd never told her. Something about her reaction to his real job told him she wouldn't understand. "I'm going to shower," he said quietly. "Dean's having a party Saturday night. Some fitness influencer thing. You don't have to come." Michael paused at the bathroom door. "Why wouldn't I come?" "Because..." She waved her hand vaguely. "It's not really your scene." Dean Martinez was their gym trainer, a walking advertisement for protein powder and toxic masculinity. Michael had never liked him, but Celeste insisted they needed to network. "I'd like to be there," Michael said. "Fine, whatever." The party was exactly what Michael expected. Dean's apartment was packed with fitness influencers, crypto bros, and real estate agents, all trying to outperform each other. Michael nursed a beer in the corner, watching Celeste work the room like a politician. "Mike!" Tyler approached with his usual swagger. They'd known each other since high school, and Tyler had been the one to introduce Michael to cryptocurrency. "How's the digital portfolio looking?" "Can't complain," Michael replied. Tyler assumed Michael had maybe 50,000 in crypto, not millions. "Good man. Hey, did you see Dean's new setup? Guy's got a whole streaming room now." Michael followed Tyler's gaze to where Dean was demonstrating some workout equipment to a group of admirers. Celeste stood at the front, hanging on his every word. "Impressive," Michael said flatly. "Dude, you okay? You seem off tonight." Before Michael could answer, Malik appeared beside them. "What's up, boys? Tyler, I've got that investment property I mentioned. Cash only, but the returns are insane." Malik had been pushing various opportunities for months. Michael had learned to tune him out. "I'm good, thanks," Michael said. "Your loss, man. Some people are just too risk-averse to build real wealth." Michael almost laughed. Risk-averse. If only he knew. The party continued around him, but Michael found himself studying the dynamics, the way Celeste's hand lingered on Dean's arm, how Tyler and Malik exchanged knowing glances when discussing their weekend plans, the subtle exclusion he felt from conversations that died when he approached. At midnight, Michael found Celeste in the kitchen, refilling her wine glass. "Ready to go?" he asked. "Actually, I'm staying to help clean up." Dean's been so generous hosting these events. I can help too. No, that's okay. You have work in the morning. Michael looked around the kitchen. It was spotless. What exactly needs cleaning? Celeste's cheeks flushed. Michael, please, don't make this weird. Make what weird? This jealousy thing. It's embarrassing. Michael stared at his wife of 7 years. I'm not jealous, Celeste. I'm confused. About what? About why my wife wants to stay at another man's apartment until God knows when to clean a kitchen that's already clean. The conversation around them had quieted. Michael could feel eyes on them. Fine, Celeste hissed. I'll come home, but you're being ridiculous. The drive home was silent. Michael's mind raced, but he kept his hands steady on the wheel. In the passenger seat, Celeste stared out of the window, her arms crossed. I'm sorry, he said finally. You're right. I was being ridiculous. She turned to look at him surprised. Really? Really? I trust you. I worry sometimes that I'm not good enough for you. Her expression softened. Michael, you're fine. You're just different from my friends. Different how? You're quiet. They're more dynamic. Dynamic. Michael filed that word away. I understand, he said. I'll try to be more dynamic. Celeste smiled and reached over to squeeze his hand. I love you. You know that. I love you too. But as they pulled into their driveway, Michael was already planning his next move. Trust, but verify. It was something his military instructor had drilled into him years ago. The next morning, Michael bought a small recording device online. Nothing fancy, just a voice-activated recorder that could be hidden easily. He told himself he was being paranoid, that he was letting his insecurities get the better of him. But paranoia, he'd learned in the Army, was just another word for preparation. The device arrived 2 days later. Michael tested it in his truck during lunch break, satisfied with the audio quality. That evening, while Celeste was in the shower, he placed it behind their bedroom dresser. 3 days passed with nothing but normal conversation. Michael began to feel foolish. Maybe he really was being paranoid. On the 4th day, Celeste announced she was going to Dean's gym for a content planning session. I'll probably be late, she said, kissing his cheek. Don't wait up. Michael nodded and watched her leave. Then he settled in to wait. At 11 p.m., he heard her car in the driveway. Michael pretended to be asleep as she slipped into bed beside him. The next morning, after she left for a business breakfast, Michael retrieved the recorder. What he heard changed everything. God, I needed this, Celeste's voice was breathless, satisfied. Me too. I've been thinking about you all week. Dean's voice was unmistakable. We have to be careful. Michael's already suspicious. About what? He got weird at your party. Asked why I wanted to stay late. Dean laughed. What did you tell him? That he was being ridiculous, which he was. Poor Michael, always there, always silent, like furniture. They both laughed at that. Michael's hand clenched around the recorder. Speaking of furniture, Dean continued, Tyler and Malik are coming over tomorrow night. That thing we discussed, the wellness party? Yeah, you sure you're up for it? Are you kidding? I've been dying to try something like that. Michael would never what? You know, he's so vanilla, so predictable. Michael listened to the rest of the conversation, his jaw tight. The wellness party was apparently some kind of group activity that definitely didn't involve meditation or yoga. But it was the next recording that truly broke him. 2 nights later, after another supposed content meeting, Celeste came home and Michael heard her talking to someone on the phone. No, he has no idea, she was saying. He's too trusting. Too weak. What if he finds out? Tyler's voice came through the speaker. He won't. And even if he did, what would he do? File for divorce? I get half of everything anyway. Still, maybe we should be more careful. Tyler, the man empties garbage cans for a living. He's not exactly criminal mastermind material. True. Hey, are you still coming to Malik's place Thursday? Wouldn't miss it. These boys' nights are the best thing to happen to my marriage. Michael sat in his truck in the driveway, listening to his wife plan her next betrayal. But underneath the hurt and anger, something else was growing, something cold and calculating. They thought he was weak, predictable, furniture. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Michael didn't confront her. Instead, he began to plan. First, He needed to know exactly what he was dealing with. Over the next week, he installed additional recording devices in strategic locations around their home. He also began following Celeste's digital footprint more carefully, noting patterns in her behavior. What he discovered was systematic betrayal. Dean, Tyler, and Malik weren't just casual affairs. They were a coordinated effort to humiliate him. Text messages revealed they'd been laughing about him for months, calling him the ghost because of how invisible he was in his own life. But Michael had advantages they didn't know about. His military background had taught him surveillance and strategy. His crypto wealth gave him resources they couldn't imagine. And his boring job meant nobody paid attention to him. The perfect cover for gathering intelligence. He spent 2 weeks mapping their routines, their weaknesses, their pressure points. Dean's gym was struggling financially. Tyler's crypto investments were mostly hot air and borrowed money. Malik's real estate deals were increasingly shady, possibly illegal. All three men were living beyond their means, desperately trying to maintain an image of success. All three were involved with his wife in increasingly elaborate deceptions. Michael's plan began to form. The first step was creating distance. Michael found a small apartment across town and signed a lease under an LLC he'd established years ago for his crypto investments. He began moving his most important possessions there gradually, careful not to alert Celeste. The second step was recruiting help. Tamara Lee had been a medical technician before a DUI cost her the job. She'd been working as a barista at Michael's favorite coffee shop for 6 months, clearly struggling. More importantly, she owed him a favor. Michael had anonymously paid her court fines when she couldn't afford them. "I need some medical consultations," Michael told her during a quiet moment at the coffee shop. "Nothing illegal. Just some health screenings." "What kind of screenings?" "The kind that might save some people from making very poor decisions." Tamara studied his face. "This is about your wife, isn't it?" Michael didn't deny it. "Are you interested?" "What would you need me to do?" "Set up a legitimate men's wellness screening. Real tests, real results, but I need them interpreted in a very specific way." "Michael, I can't falsify medical records." "I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to emphasize certain risk factors, create some urgency around follow-up care. Everything will be medically accurate." Tamara was quiet for a long moment. "How much are we talking?" 50,000. Her eyes widened. "Are you serious?" "Dead serious." "What exactly are you planning?" Michael's smile was cold. "I'm going to give them exactly what they deserve." The wellness screening was Celeste's idea, which made it perfect. "I want to do something different with my content," she announced over breakfast. "Something that shows I care about more than just fitness and beauty." "Like what?" "Men's health. It's underserved, and Dean thinks it could be huge for my brand." Of course, Dean thought that. "It's a great idea," Michael said. "Very authentic. I was thinking we could do a whole campaign. Free screenings, maybe partner with local gyms and businesses." "That sounds expensive?" "I have some savings." She didn't. "And I'm sure we can find sponsors." Michael pretended to think it over. "You know what? I think it's brilliant. In fact, I'd like to help fund it." "You would?" "Absolutely. How much do you need?" "Maybe 10,000 to start." "How about 25? Celeste's eyes lit up. "Really? Michael, that's amazing. Thank you." "I believe in you, honey." "I always have." The guilt flickered across her face for just a moment. Then it was gone. The Men's Wellness Initiative launched 2 weeks later. Celeste promoted it heavily on social media, positioning herself as a forward-thinking advocate for men's health. The response was enthusiastic, especially from her male followers. Dean, Tyler, and Malik were among the first to sign up, eager to support Celeste's new venture and get some free health screenings in the process. "This is genius," Tyler told Michael at the gym. "Your wife is really onto something here." "She's always been smart," Michael replied. "You're lucky, man. Celeste is like, she's the total package." Michael nodded. "I know exactly what I have." The screenings were held at Dean's gym, which made perfect sense since he was the fitness expert. Tamara arrived in professional medical attire, accompanied by a legitimate mobile lab service that Michael had hired. The tests were comprehensive: blood work, STD panels, cardiac markers, everything a health-conscious man would want to know. All three men submitted to the full battery of tests, joking about their results with the confidence of people who had never faced real consequences. "When will we get the results?" Dean asked. "Within a week," Tamara replied professionally. We'll call you to schedule individual consultations. Nothing to worry about, right? Malik laughed. I feel great. That's what we're here to determine, Tamara said neutrally. Michael watched from across the gym, appearing to clean equipment while actually documenting everything. The first phase of his plan was complete. The results came back clean, as expected. All 3 men were healthy. But that's not what they were told. Mr. Martinez, Tamara said gravely when Dean arrived for his consultation, we need to discuss your results. Is everything okay? I'm afraid we found some concerning markers. Your STD panel showed exposure to a particularly resistant strain of HPV. It's not immediately dangerous, but it requires immediate treatment and contact tracing. Dean's face went white. What does that mean? It means you need to contact every romantic partner you've had in the past 6 months. They all need to be tested immediately. But I feel fine. This strain can be asymptomatic for months. That's what makes it so dangerous. Similar conversations happened with Tyler and Malik over the next 2 days. Tyler was told he had elevated markers suggesting early-stage chlamydia. Malik was informed about a concerning bacterial infection that required immediate treatment. All 3 men were given real medication antibiotics that would do them no harm but would reinforce the illusion of treatment. More importantly, they were told to contact their partners immediately. Michael waited for the chaos to begin. It started with panic texts. Emergency. Need to talk. Now. Dean's message to Celeste was intercepted by the monitoring software Michael had installed on their shared laptop. What's wrong? Celeste replied. Can't text this. Come over. It's about the health screening. Within hours, all 3 men were in crisis mode. They descended on Dean's apartment like a war council, discussing their diagnoses in hushed, terrified tones. How is this possible? Tyler paced the living room. Oh, we were all careful. Careful? Malik laughed bitterly. We were sharing the same woman for months. Keep your voice down, Dean hissed. The walls are thin. What are we going to tell our girlfriends, our wives? I don't know. I really don't know. Michael listened to the recording later, savoring their panic. But this was just the beginning. The next phase required more delicate manipulation. Michael began anonymously submitting tips to local health bloggers about a potential STD outbreak among fitness influencers. He provided just enough detail to make it credible without mentioning names. The story gained traction quickly. Within days, several health and fitness blogs were discussing the importance of regular screening and the hidden dangers of influencer culture. Dean's gym membership began to decline. People started asking uncomfortable questions about his wellness initiatives. Tyler's crypto advice column was flooded with comments asking if he was as careless with investments as he was with his health. Malik's real estate clients began requesting meetings about health disclosures and lifestyle liability. All 3 men were watching their carefully constructed images crumble, and they had no idea why. But Michael wasn't finished. Phase 3 was more personal. He reached out to Ashley North, Celeste's rival, through an anonymous email account. I have information about Celeste Harlan that might interest you, he wrote. Her recent men's health campaign has some very interesting backstory, Ashley replied within hours. What kind of information? Michael sent her carefully edited recordings of Celeste mocking her followers, discussing her fake authenticity, and bragging about manipulating her audience. Nothing about the affair that would come later. Where did you get this? Ashley asked. Let's just say I'm someone who believes in accountability. What do you want in return? Nothing. Just truth. Ashley's response was swift and brutal. She created a video essay about authenticity in influencer culture that featured anonymous quotes from Celeste's own recordings. The video went viral within 48 hours. Celeste's follower count began to plummet. Brand partnerships were canceled. Her carefully constructed empire started to collapse. Michael watched it all from his secret apartment, monitoring the surveillance feeds from their home. Celeste was spiraling, making increasingly desperate phone calls to her contacts in the industry. I don't know where this is coming from, she sobbed to her agent. Someone is targeting me. Who would do that? I don't know. Maybe Ashley? Maybe a competitor? Never once did she suspect her quiet, predictable husband. The final phase was the most satisfying. Michael arranged for a follow-up wellness event at Dean's gym, ostensibly to discuss the results of the screening and address community concerns. He promoted it through Celeste's social media accounts, positioning it as a transparency initiative. All three men attended, hoping to rehabilitate their reputations. The gym was packed with influencers, clients, and curious onlookers. What they didn't know was that Michael had planted cameras throughout the building. "Welcome, everyone," Dean began nervously. "I know there have been some concerns about recent health screenings, and I want to address them directly." "Are the rumors true?" someone called out. "About the STD outbreak?" "There was no outbreak," Dean insisted. "Just some elevated markers that required precautionary treatment." "What kind of elevated markers?" The voice belonged to a local health reporter that Michael had tipped off. That's confidential medical information. But you're asking people to trust you with their health. Don't they deserve to know?" The questions grew more aggressive. Tyler tried to deflect by talking about media sensationalism, but he was sweating profusely. Malik attempted to change the subject to the importance of men's health advocacy, but his voice was shaking. Then Michael played his ace. Hidden speakers throughout the gym began playing audio recordings of the three men discussing their shared arrangements with Celeste, their mocking comments about Michael, their casual discussions of betrayal and deception. Poor Michael. Always there, always silent, like furniture. What if he finds out? He won't. He's too trusting, too weak. The man empties garbage cans for a living. He's not exactly criminal mastermind material. The gym fell silent, except for the incriminating voices echoing from the speakers. Every phone in the room was recording. Dean's face went white. This is illegal surveillance? Is it?" Michael stepped out from behind the equipment, no longer hiding. "Because I believe everything you're hearing was recorded in my own home with my own equipment." "Michael?" Celeste stood frozen near the entrance. "What are you doing here?" "I'm here for the Transparency Initiative, honey." "Isn't that what you wanted?" The recordings continued playing, revealing more details about the systematic betrayal, the mocking comments, the casual cruelty. Social media exploded in real time as the audio spread across platforms. "You did this," Tyler snarled. "You really did this." "I did what?" Michael's voice was calm, almost conversational. "I provided health screenings. I supported my wife's career. I trusted my friends. You sabotaged us. I gave you exactly what you asked for, transparency." Dean lunged forward, but Michael was ready. His military training kicked in, and he sidestepped easily, letting Dean's momentum carry him into a rack of weights. The collision was loud and humiliating. "Stay down," Michael advised quietly. "You're embarrassing yourself." Malik was already heading for the exit, but the crowd blocked his path. People were shouting questions, recording everything. His reputation was destroyed in real time. The aftermath was swift and brutal. Dean's gym closed within a week. His fitness influencer career was over, his credibility destroyed. The video of him charging at Michael and falling into the weight rack became a viral meme. Tyler's crypto advice column was canceled. His investment clients fled. Several of his previous recommendations were revealed to be poorly researched, and he faced potential legal action. Malik's real estate license was suspended pending investigation. The attention from the recordings had drawn scrutiny to his business practices, revealing a pattern of questionable deals and inflated credentials. All three men had their social media accounts flooded with mockery and criticism. Their reputations were destroyed, their careers ended, their futures uncertain. But Michael wasn't finished with Celeste. The divorce proceedings were where Michael's true preparation revealed itself. "I don't understand," Celeste said to her lawyer. "He's a garbage man. How can he afford Eva Darnell?" Eva Darnell was the most expensive divorce attorney in the city. She'd agreed to take Michael's case after he demonstrated his financial resources. "Mrs. Harlan," Ava said coolly, "your husband has been quite financially responsible, more than you might realize." The revelation of Michael's crypto wealth hit Celeste like a physical blow. Over $4 million in digital assets, all accumulated before their marriage and carefully protected in separate accounts. "He's been hiding money from me," Celeste accused. "He's been protecting assets that were never marital property," Ava corrected. "Assets that predate your marriage and were acquired through his individual investments. But the lifestyle we've been living was funded by his generosity, not marital assets." Your husband has been extraordinarily generous with money that was never legally yours. The financial discovery was devastating. Not only would Celeste receive no share of Michael's crypto wealth, but she'd also accumulated significant debt through her failed influencer career. Her income had dried up, her brand partnerships were canceled, and she was facing potential legal action from sponsors she'd failed to deliver for. "I want alimony," she demanded. "Based on what?" Eva asked. "You've been the primary breadwinner in your marriage through your influencer income. Your husband's employment as a sanitation worker provides steady but modest income. Under normal circumstances, he might have a claim against your higher earnings. But I don't have any earnings now. That's not your husband's responsibility." The final settlement was brutal in its simplicity. Celeste got nothing except her debts and her shattered reputation. Michael kept his assets, his steady job, and his dignity. 6 months later, Michael stood in his new apartment looking out at the city skyline. The space was modern, comfortable, and completely his own. No shared spaces, no hidden recording devices, no need for surveillance. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Michael, please, we need to talk. I'm sorry." "I'm so sorry." He deleted the message without responding. Celeste had been trying to contact him for weeks, but he had nothing left to say to her. Another message appeared, this one from Ashley North. "Dinner tonight? I'm cooking." Michael smiled. His relationship with Ashley had developed slowly, carefully. She knew everything about his past, his methods, his reasons. She understood the kind of man he was and accepted it completely. "I'll bring wine," he replied. As he prepared to leave, Michael caught his reflection in the bathroom mirror. The man looking back at him was different from the one who used to come home to silence and betrayal. This man was confident, assured, dangerous when necessary. He wasn't weak, he wasn't predictable, he wasn't furniture. He was exactly who he'd always been. They just never bothered to look. The evening news was playing in the background as Michael got ready for dinner. The anchor was discussing a local business scandal involving fraudulent real estate practices. Malik's face appeared on screen, looking haggard and defeated as he was led away in handcuffs. Michael turned off the television and headed for the door. The past was behind him now, settled and finished. He had a new life, a new relationship, and a future that belonged entirely to him. As he walked to his car, Michael thought about the concept of revenge. People always imagined it as violent, dramatic, explosive. But the most effective revenge was simply truth, giving people exactly what they deserved, exactly what they'd earned through their own choices. Dean, Tyler, and Malik had destroyed themselves. Michael had simply provided the stage. Celeste had betrayed herself. Michael had simply held up the mirror. The real victory wasn't in their destruction. It was in his liberation. For the first time in years, Michael Harlan was exactly where he belonged.